We're talking spring camp battles, and somebody's back in the building. Campus2Canton is live right now. Oh, my God. Press the button.
I pressed it.
It did not do the intro the whole way. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's take it from the top. All right, here we go.
All right.
Oh, my goodness. Matthew, what are you? You are sabotaging my comeback tour. All right, here we go. 3, 2. All right, we're talking spring camp battles, and your boy's back in the building. Campus2Canton is live right now. Stand up. Stand up. Matthew, please sit down. Sit down, Matthew, please. For those in the podcast feed, Matthew has stood to his feet. Did you miss me?
Of course I missed you. You know this. I've only texted you like every other day asking you when you were coming back to the show.
Whatever. Chris K. Well, I mean, I'm saying welcome to the show, but I've been listening since you've joined. Good addition. A CFF mind. That's always good.
Yeah, great to be here. I will say I never knew what it was like to do this with you, so I don't know if I did miss you, but I did miss listening to you, I guess.
Yeah, you know what? I almost started this show with a "How you doing tonight?" That is almost the direct. That's what that felt like, which is the cardinal sin, is starting the show with "How you doing tonight?" on a podcast. Listen, if you don't know me, I'm Felix Sharp at Sharp Review on Twitter. My co-hosts Chris K and Matt Bruening. Chris, what's your Twitter? I got to get that handle. I got to start memorizing that handle.
Realist Chris K. Simple.
That's easy to remember.
Yeah.
And Matt Bruening at Sports Fanatic MB on Twitter for Campus2Canton.com. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel. Help what we're doing, trying to grow the college fantasy football game. It's been a long time since I have sat in this chair. I was gone for a while. But you know what? I realized that I don't have real life friends. I have friends on the internet. If you're a longtime listener to this show, you know that I hate PJ. I hate PJ with a passion. I cannot stand PJ. PJ's probably my closest friend in the world, to be honest with you, by process of elimination. So I'm back. This is Campus2Canton Live. I'm glad to be joining with you. I still have things to say, so we're going to be talking about spring camp battles that we're looking forward to and getting into all that. Of course, check out the Campus2Canton Freshman Guide. It is available now, released on March 1st. Matthew, is there any pitch you want to give on the Freshman Guide as people get ready for, after spring ball, they're going to be doing freshman drafts? What can you tell us about the guide?
Yeah, I mean, it's our 5th year doing it, which sounds insane. Just a very interesting class this year. I really think you're going to want to dive into some of the sleepers in this class. I think Matt, Austin, and myself, along with Marcus and Woody, have some interesting ones. Very good at the top of the class, with a pretty serious drop-off after that. So really, really fun class, though, to go over. A lot of different things in there. We changed some of our athletic stuff. Mox got his spider charts in there again this year, 2nd year for that. So I think it's a really good guide. I loved working on it. It's one of my favorite things to work on here at Campus2Canton. So yeah, definitely check it out.
Okay, so the guide is very, very interesting. It's really good, and it's an interesting class.
Hey, do we got a sleeper? Last year, didn't we have a guy that was like, we rank him way over the rest? Do we have anybody like that this year?
Yeah, we've got a couple. I mean, you're going to ask me to go right off the top of my head here with that. I don't.
I just was curious if there was a guy that was flag planted to have that
conversation.
No, I'm not.
I want to plan an entire show, a long show around the freshman class. I don't think that we need necessarily to do that tonight, but we will be doing that, audience. We will be covering the freshman class just like they do on the official, but we do it a very unique way here on Campus2Canton Live if you've been paying attention the last 4 years. So I anticipate that we will get something like that going here moving forward. All right, we've got spring ball in full swing. in complete full swing. I'm seeing clips from USC, from BYU, from what other schools have started. I know Hawaii. I feel like Hawaii is one of those schools that start really early, but we're seeing spring camp clips on Twitter, on the X platform. So I think that is where we naturally need to start. This is where we can start uncovering gems. I remember a couple of years ago, Kevin Concepcion was the drumbeat player at NC State. And then you get to the spring game, and he's a focal point there in the first half of the game, and lo and behold, he was a value in drafts and is going to be probably a day 2 NFL draft pick somewhere. And so that's what we're looking for. Matthew, can I start with you as far as what you're looking forward to in uncovering in spring football this season?
Yeah. One of the groups that I'm looking to uncover is, honestly, I'm going to start at Vanderbilt. We just actually talked about the freshman class. I want to see what Jared Curtis looks like. I do believe he's probably going to be the starter for Vanderbilt, true freshman. He was a 5-star for us here at the company, 5-star for the other recruiting services. But I mean, obviously, Diego Pavia was, I don't want to say a fantasy superstar, but a player you could start at times. Chris was advocating for him to be a Heisman winner this year on C2C Live. Can Jared Curtis do that without necessarily as much rushing as Diego Pavia brought over the past couple years, but passing? And can they do that with the weapons around them? I think we, at least at Campus2Canton and our recruiting team, think that Vanderbilt is kind of sneaky good at getting these very athletic players into their department, mainly at running back and wide receiver. Sometimes they do get picked off by the other schools right toward the end. So Vanderbilt is one of the teams that I'm looking forward to this spring to kind of see what that team looks like.
Kay, I mean, you're a CFF mind. Is Vanderbilt a team that you may be circling? Oh, and Kay is making a face like, I don't know about all that. Is Vanderbilt team you're looking at?
I think the tight end could be potentially interesting. Like if Curtis is a quality quarterback, and also I think just like how valuable can Curtis be on the ground? If he can run a little bit, then the offense might be there. But the problem here is that Vanderbilt doesn't run a ton of plays, and they don't throw it a ton, generally speaking. So you need a really efficient quarterback in some big plays to pop some value in CFF.
And Curtis is a freshman, and Diego Pavia ran a ton last year. I don't see why Jared Curtis wouldn't run a lot of scrambles and broken plays and stuff like that. I doubt that it's going to be efficient. I doubt that you're going to be able to start Jared Curtis maybe for the first 2 years at Vanderbilt, unless he's like a 500 or 600 yard rusher. I don't think he's going to be very efficient as a passer. Kay, give me something you're looking forward to as we go into getting the spring ball.
I think Kansas running back is going to be really interesting to watch. Talk about a complete, like, polar opposites of running backs. You see Willis, the Syracuse transfer, and Dylan Edwards, the Kansas State transfer, moving over to Kansas. Lance Leopold has produced studs at running back in fantasy production in last, 100 years.
Lance Leopold should have the college football record for most rushing yards in a game. He should have that record. If you remember that game at Buffalo where he didn't even know that they were on the cusp of breaking that record. Was it Jared Patterson? Patterson?
It was Patterson, yeah.
So, I mean, talk about fantasy goldmine there. So, I don't think anybody has any idea truly who's going to be the guy in drastic differences in how they play. Edwards, the shiftier small back, was seeing Willis, the bigger back. Both of them have seen enough time to kind of have an idea of their talent. But Leopold makes some really untalented players very talented in the system. So I think that's going to be a really good one for fantasy, especially early on in drafts where you can get some insane value out of them.
Yeah, it's Willis, and who's the second running back at Kansas this year?
Dylan Edwards.
Oh,
tiny guy.
So he stayed in state, went away from Kansas State, which was his original commitment. That was your boy, Matthew. Little old Dylan Edwards. And then he had that first game against TCU where he caught a couple of screen passes. Everybody thought that he should be taken in the first or second round, and then do Jack Diddley after that, that momentous Colorado win.
If you started him in week 1 2 years ago,
if you started him in week 1 as a true
freshman,
probably
won.
Probably won. Overmatched TCU game. Yeah, sure. Austin adds in the chat. He said Curtis ran for over 600 yards in each of his final 2 years, and I mean that's high. I mean, thank you. That's high school. Curtis is also a big dude. Curtis is what 6'2", 6'3", and 220 pounds.
6'3", I believe. But yes,
yeah, he's also he's got a little bit of he can be used like Bear Bachmeier a little bit at the goal line, and but that's actually a good comparison because Bear ran for what 500 yards last year, 10 touchdowns, and he wasn't a QB. He only averaged like 17 to 20 points a game last year.
Yeah.
And I think if Jared Curtis had that type of season, that would be considered a success.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have him with an 89.5 star index score. That's not bad for a quarterback who's 6'4", 225.
6'4", 225. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I guess we're just jumping right into it. I am looking forward to the Washington wide receiver core and how that receiver core shakes out. There's been a lot of talent lost from that room over the last couple of years. Denzel Boston. I almost said David Boston when I was writing my notes. David Boston. Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, Rome Odunze. That's a lot of talent to leave, a Pac-12 or a former Pac-12 school. And how do they replace it? I don't know if they can. I know that the spreadsheet simps love Desmond Roebuck and think that he's going to run for 1,100. Matt, do you have an opinion on Desmond Roebuck before I go tear him down right now?
No, go ahead. You can tear him down. I'm not.
I just don't think he has a skill that makes him an exceptional player. Would you rather have Desmond Roebuck or what's the little slot wide receiver for Alabama, the freshman from last year? I can't remember.
Lautier Brooks.
Yes. Would you rather have
Brooks?
Yeah.
Isn't that consensus though? I think everybody would say that, right?
Probably.
I mean, that's what there are those out there who don't watch the game, who just watch it through an Excel spreadsheet that would tell you Desmond Roebuck is better than Lautier Brooks. That's why I'm asking. That's why I'm asking the question. That's why I'm asking the question. But I am looking forward to this Washington wide receiver core. They lose. Hold on. Where are my notes here? They lose 4 of their top 5 or 4 of their top 6. Denzel Boston is gone. Desmond Roebuck was the second leading receiver. Omari Edmonds was third. He's a senior. Raiden Vines Bright, he's at Arizona, I believe. Chris Lawson returns, and Audric Harris, that's a player that we liked at one point. He's gone also. He's at Hawaii. They bring in Bogpen Miller from Ohio State and Christian Moss from Kennesaw State. Matt, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but Bogpen Miller was a quarterback who made in high school, who made the transition to wide receiver. He transfers in from Ohio State. Do you have any background on Bogpen Miller? I will tell you, and why. I mean, he looks like a fluid, explosive athlete. He came out of the state of Ohio in high school, but when I listed all those names, there's not one that stands out right now. Christian Moss was not the best wide receiver at Kennesaw State last year. Gabe Barnyard was, or Banyard was, not Christian Moss. So I don't know. I don't know amongst these 3, Miller, Moss, and Chris Lawson, who's going to step up with Desmond Roebuck. Maybe it's just Decker DeGraff. Is Decker DeGraff still there? Listen, I got to catch up on stuff.
He's still here. Yeah, he's still there. I think some people like him too as a tight end. There's a lot of random names. This is another position that gives you fantasy value and CFF side, and we have no idea who it is, right? And Damon Williams has shown that he can provide enough from the quarterback position to make it valuable too. So this is a weird one. Vines Bright transferring out, as someone mentioned in the comments, was a little puzzling considering what it seemed like was going to be his upcoming role.
Well, we know that Jed Fish Jed Fish wants to throw the ball. Damon Williams wants to throw the ball. Like, who's going to take on that lost production? I don't have a clear picture on that now. I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily one of the transfers. One of the hasn't even been playing wide receiver that long. The other is a guy that's in his 4th year and hasn't really been an elite guy in Christian Moss. That leads me to believe that it's Chris Lawson. By process of elimination, it's the incumbent there, Chris Lawson. So I'm going to be studying Chris Lawson to see if that's true. I don't know it yet. So that's one position group that I'm going to be going to be watching for. Should I go for another one here, or Matthew? You want to jump in with one of yours?
No, go ahead. We're already into spring battles. I felt like we
I don't know. Listen, I'm shot my load too quickly. Like we didn't do the intro long enough. I'm rusty.
I guess
I'm not looking at the show sheet correctly. Did you guys even do show sheets while I was gone?
Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I did.
Yeah.
I would
did them.
Yeah, I would do them. I would do them.
Yeah, we had them, but
Matter of
there was
fact,
not as much.
There were some times that your boy had them ready by like Mondays, and I actually put some time and effort into them.
That's a lie.
It's not a lie.
Damn lie.
It's very true. I try to be very professional.
It's true. There were a few times.
A few times. I'd say every time. There's a few times.
You have the nice Chris K here just lying for you.
Nah,
just
never.
The honorable Chris K lying for you. There's one that stands out, obviously, and that's the Alabama quarterback position. And I'm worried that we might be in Malachi Nelson, Miller Moss territory between Keelan Russell and Austin Mack. You're rolling your eyes. Malachi Nelson was the number one quarterback in his class.
Trust me, I remember.
And when the spring ended, he ended up going where? To Boise State. And then he ended up going where? To UTEP. Where is Malachi Nelson the quarterback now?
Where is he at? Is it Syracuse?
Is it Syracuse?
I can't remember where he went.
Well, it ain't USC.
Now. I know it's not USC, and it's not.
I don't think that I don't think you can just roll your eyes, because when Ty Simpson went down in 2025, it wasn't Keelan Russell who trotted onto the field. It was Austin Mack, including in the playoff game when Ty Simpson missed some time. It was Austin Mack that came into the game, and I think we always think the 5-star freshman is going to start over somebody that's there. Matthew, you made this mistake a long time ago between Kyle McCord and CJ Stroud. I'm telling you, you have to give some credence to the guy that's been in the program. And by the way, Austin Mack has been on Kalen DeBoer's radar longer than Keelan Russell has.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. He's been on the radar more. Keelan Russell is a 10 times better prospect and player than I think Austin Mack is.
Prospect irrelevant to DeBoer's life, though.
You're not wrong, but also Keelan Russell now has a year in the system as well. It's not like he's a true freshman this year. I think last year I understood it with Austin Mack coming in, especially again in a playoff game. Maybe you don't want to throw the true freshman out there. Maybe for whatever reason, Kalen DeBoer thought they had a chance to get back into that game. They didn't, but maybe he thought they did. So he threw in the seasoned veteran. If you're just going to talk about a guy who's going to stand back there and maybe be able to run the offense, sure, I guess that could be Austin Mack. But I just think Keelan Russell brings everything to that position. He could be by far, I don't want to say a top fantasy asset, because he might actually.
We have a lot of people who have not watched some of these freshmen or some of these guys that have not played. I would say that so Austin Mack is a towering pocket passer. He's like 6'4", 6'5", something like that. He's a Jared Goff type. Keelan Russell to me is, I think Bryce Young is a good comparison for Keelan Russell. You can tell me if you think I'm wrong, but would you agree with that?
But bigger. Like, you don't have the fear of him getting like destroyed. Like, Keelan Russell's like 6'3". Bryce Young was like 5'10" on a good day. So yeah, right. I mean,
but stylistically they're similar.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I'm just saying he's bigger. Keelan Russell is bigger. I don't think that, I could be wrong here. I don't think Keelan Russell is quite as good athletically as Bryce Young. I think he's got a lot of acceleration. He can give you some rushing yards, but I don't remember Keelan Russell being the guy who's going to give you like the long touchdown runs like Bryce Young could.
Maybe a CJ Stroudish then, athletic and can do it if he needs to. But I will tell you, I had never seen Austin Mack before in my life, like literally. And I don't know, I wasn't unimpressed by his performance. Like, he had some slinger in him, he had some juice on his arm, which was shocking to me. So I don't think it's going to be him to win the job, but there would be crazier things that would have happened in the past. Because like you said, Felix, like sometimes guy that's been in the system long, they start with ECU, then Kentucky, then Florida State. So it's not an absolute cakewalk. Maybe they go that route. I don't know. I don't think it's the craziest thing.
I could be wrong, but Austin Mack only started 1 year at Folsom in California. Folsom, one of those powerhouses. Jake Brownie who is the former Washington quarterback, who is Joe Burrow's current backup. He went to Folsom. Rico Flores, who was the freshman wide receiver at Notre Dame, now at UCLA. He went to Folsom. Walker and Ryder Lyons, they went to Folsom. Ontario Smith Jr., if you guys remember if you're old enough to remember the Whizzinator in the boat trip for Ontario Smith, the former Minnesota Vikings running back, his son was on that Austin Mack, Rico Flores team there for Folsom. So he comes from a powerhouse, just doesn't have a lot of experience.
He reclassified, so people know he reclassified up and joined the class late too.
That's
he joined,
right.
If I remember,
yeah, that's right, because he was a 1-year starter. Yeah, he was a 1-year starter and then reclassified, and then went to Washington and then transferred to Alabama with Kalen DeBoer. What would you put the odds at that Keelan Russell is the starter come September, Matthew?
Why don't you go to Chris
percentage-wise?
Who's really good with betting stuff.
Percentage-wise,
I agree with that. I'll say like 70% Keelan.
I'd go right now. I'd probably go 60-40. I do think that it will be a battle. And again, I think my biggest thing with Kalen DeBoer is I do think he wants a guy who's going to run his offense. And Austin Mack has at least, again, I think very, very small sample size, but showed that he could do it, where Keelan Russell's probably not going to get many of those opportunities. I mean, you're going to have a couple scrimmages. What is, I forgot what Alabama's thing is. I don't want to. I forgot what they call their scrimmage game. I was gonna say something else.
Is it A-Day? I don't know.
A-Day, that's what it was. I had D-Day stuck in my head, which I knew was not what this is called. So A-Day, like maybe he'll get a chance there, but I just think he is the better overall player. And I do think Kalen DeBoer is somewhat on the hot seat. I understand they made the playoffs this year, but Alabama has taken interesting step backs over the past couple of years. So I'll be interested to see what he does.
Would you trade Keelan Russell for Malik? What's the Green Bay, the former Liberty quarterback? What's his name? Malik
Willis.
Malik Willis. Would you trade Keelan Russell for Malik Willis? Supposedly the prize. We're playing in Campus2Canton leagues. A prize free agent quarterback. Let's say he gets a starting job somewhere. Would you trade Keelan Russell for Malik Willis?
Like, I would get Malik Willis or I get Keelan Russell?
You would get Malik Willis.
I wouldn't.
It's pretty close. Like, what's Keelan Russell from a fantasy standpoint of college going to do? I don't think it's like anything absurd. So you're really just getting Willis for a couple of years, and then you lose the value of Russell in year 3, probably, right? Worst case scenario.
Here's where you might be wrong there. Some people earlier this year or last year, I'm sorry, during the college football season, we're taking their shots at your boy Matty B, because for like 5 weeks, Ty Simpson was a top 5 quarterback when he was, playing really weak schedule. And then that really dropped off because Ty Simpson sucked, which I was right about. So if Keelan Russell is good and can replicate that to a point, again, I don't know that he's going to be as good a rusher. I think that you're possibly going to get a guy who could finish top 24 in fantasy points. We know Kalen DeBoer is going to have a good offense. That's not going to change. So if Russell's able to put up the points, and I still think Russell's a player who could possibly be a first-round draft.
I don't think that's the question. The question is what is a smart thing to do, and is a smart thing to do to trade a player at their potential value peak? That's really the question that I'm asking. Is like, and so let's take Malik Willis out of the question. What about Bryce Young? Would you try? I just compared him to Bryce Young. Would you trade Keelan Russell for Bryce Young, who's like a fringe starting quarterback in the NFL? Audio medium.
Young's kind of interesting because
I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'll hop in. Young's interesting because he fell off and was just straight awful, right? And then he turned it around, and then last year he was fine. Yeah. I think I would take Bryce Young because he's young enough that if you're right, you have a significant amount of time with it. Malik Willis is so reliant on his legs. How many more years does that actually happen, right? There's a little bit of a fall off when you hit a certain age as a quarterback that's a runner, that it does feel like you're going to lose that kind of value. So I think there's a little bit of a difference, and I think for sure take Bryce Young over Malik Willis comparatively.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I would take Young, and I've said on this show over the past year, I've kind of not paid as close attention to the NFL as at least I have college football. But I think with Young, he's at least assured the starting job at Carolina for the near future. Like, I understand Malik Willis is kind of the hot new name because of what he did filling in for Jordan Love. But someone, Dawson just mentioned in the chat, is he could get that Sam Darnold type deal. Sam Darnold moved, I believe, Seattle before he won a Super Bowl. Is like the 5th time he stopped. Or is that what we're actually going to get out of Malik Willis, or is he going to go somewhere next and kind of ball out? I don't know. I haven't seen enough to believe just because he filled in for Jordan Love for a little bit doesn't mean he's going to be a good quarterback, or at least I know what I'm getting out of Bryce Young. So I would take Young.
All right, Matthew, or actually, Kay, why don't you give us another one of your position group?
Well, let's stay at Bama. What about another shiny new toy in Xavier Crowell? You think from a running back perspective, this one feels very possible that the shiny new toy could work out, the freshman here, because everybody else was awful. Kevin Riley, Daniel Hill were 3.8 yards per carry. They just looked bad, even if you watched. Just from like watching, you don't have to even look at the actual the data behind it. AK Deer returns as well, I believe. He had some good runs, but it was limited usage. Do we think the true freshman could start, or do you think that they'll go with an older back?
I don't know which backfield was worse, Alabama's or Florida State's last year when I thought Usman Chroma was going to start there. It's like you can be a highly rated player, but if you're not in a system where the coach is going to deploy you, I don't know. It just feels hard to project. Like Crowell probably should be the starter. But does the coaching staff have an issue? Let's say hypothetically Keelan Russell is the starter. Are they say, all right, we want to put a veteran running back in the backfield with Keelan Russell and not a true freshman. We don't want to have 2 first-year starters, one who just got on campus starting for Alabama. And you know how coaches think. Coaches are conservative. Yeah. Coaches are, because it would be a stretch to say, for a football coach to say, all right, we're going to do 2 freshmen here in the backfield.
Yeah, I think that they'll start out with Daniel Hill. I think by the end of the year, Crowell will by far be the starter. He's just too good. I mean, he is by far the best running back in that room right now. But I think starting the season, they will definitely kind of lean on Hill, at least to start off the season. I would not be surprised if it's almost like a 60-40 split, though, in the backfield, like Hill getting carries with Crowell getting stuff early on. Maybe they'll mix Deer in. I don't think Deer is anything special. Maybe mixing all 3 of them in at times, but I would almost guarantee if Alabama makes the playoffs, I think by the time that playoff game starts, Crowell is the starting running back in the backfield as the first snap goes to Keelan Russell.
I think you make a really good point there, Felix, to begin. Like, if they start Russell, that's a freshman. Do you really want another freshman there? And then same thing with like Austin Mack. He's barely had any starting action. So what about pass protection? This is going to sound really weird. Any idea if Crowell can pass block? Because if he can, I think he has a shot. If he can't, I think you guys are spot on. There's no world where he starts if he can't handle 3rd downs.
I mean, he's got the size and ability to. I'm going to let you know right now, these high school players don't really go put like pass blocking stuff on their huddle films.
And they don't have AI doing that on huddle for them?
They do have some. I mean, we go and watch full games. There have been moments of him doing it, but it's not a ton. So, I mean, right now it's kind of, I'd be lying if I said, yeah, of course Crowell can do it. But I would guess based on, again, his just size and ability, he can.
That's a spring drum beat I'm going to be listening for, is his pass blocking.
And I think Alabama is one of those programs where they cut the real spring game and have replaced it with like drills and stuff, and it's not a great television product anymore. I can't believe that really sucks, because to me, just as college football is gaining more popularity nationally with casual fans, like the spring is the perfect time to have a good college football television product. And they've all gone to this like flag football type stuff. And I think Alabama is one of them.
Jared goes every year, so we should just ask him.
To Alabama's or to Georgia's?
To Alabama's.
Yeah,
his sister goes or goes there, and so I think he would just go and hang out with her type of thing. I think that's the family base.
I mean, I'm going to go to the Louisville game. The Louisville is at least last year was a full-fledged spring game, and this year, Matthew, we got your boy, what's his name? Keenholz. We got Keenholz here.
Lincoln Keenholz. Yep, that you do.
I got to remember names. Is he going to be good?
I mean, I believe in Jeff Brom, so I think, he can't be. He was such a good athlete. We all said, if he would have just stayed at, golly, I always forget where he was. Was it Washington? Can't remember where he was committed before he ended up flipping to Ohio State. That I think he would have been at least a very intriguing fantasy quarterback. Can do it all. Very strong arm, can run. He'll bring you rushing yards as well. So, yeah, I like it with Jeff Brom. We'll see if he actually wins the job.
So during transfer portal season, the team has these 5 or 6 black and white SUVs. And during transfer portal season, all of those cars are 24/7. They're always parked right there at the front of Howard Snellenberger practice facility. And then when transfer portal season goes, you don't see them anymore. But it's funny. Like the morning that Keenholz signed, all of those damn SUVs were right there in the front, probably going to pick up people from the airport and, trying to look important. And then you kind of see them around town. Like there are certain places where they take these guys. Steak and Bourbon downtown, 4th Street Live. I mean, they're doing really cliche stuff. So if you sit around, you kind of see where the blacked out SUVs are on Louisville's campus in downtown Louisville. All right. Matt, do you want to give us one of your position groups that you're paying attention to? As the audience out here just spouses lies in the chat.
One that is, for me, but also very important, I think, to the fantasy community, the West Virginia quarterback battle between Scotty Fox Jr. and Michael Hawkins Jr. Look, I mean, both of these guys, Scotty was there last year. Right, Chris K?
Yeah, you're Scotty Fox ended the year. I think he started the last 3 or 4 games.
I lost connection there for a second for some reason. So I'm back now, though. Michael Hawkins Jr., though, obviously transferred in from Oklahoma, is an incredible athlete. We had him at a 94.0 in our star index score. Scotty Fox Jr., not bad himself, though, 69.5. But again, we want these players who play in the Rich Rodriguez offense, not just the running backs either. I mean, I think Cam Cook's probably going to be the guy at the running back position, but these quarterbacks who can run, if he uses them that way, like he's done in the past, could be incredibly good for us from the fantasy side of things. Going back to, is it Garrett Green? I'm trying to remember who that quarterback was.
Garrett Green, yes.
Was really good.
Garrett Green, and he didn't do nothing his senior year.
Yeah.
He didn't live up to the hype, yeah.
Yeah. But we've had him nail it with these quarterbacks who can run, and Michael Hawkins Jr. can do just that. I mean, I think this is an unfair comparison, but obviously his time here in Texas in high school, he played at Allen High School, which is where Kyler Murray played. Everybody called him the next Kyler Murray because of just how fast he runs with the ball. He's bigger than Kyler Murray. I think if he ends up getting this job, could be just an absolute steal. We've talked about him before, Chris. I think you and me have specifically on this show, and just because he's going late, I think, if you're in a league with me, he's rostered by me. Outside of that, he's likely a free agent, so you should be able to pick him up in your supplemental drafts. And if he wins this job, I think it's going to be a almost locked-in top 24 quarterback for you in the fantasy side of things.
Kay, let me ask you. I think when we hear Rich Rodriguez, people are still thinking about like 2001, 2002, Steve Slayton, Pat White, Noel Devine back in the day. Can we still expect that type of offense and production from a Rich Rodriguez team? And by the way, Cam Cook, leading rusher in the country last year for Jacksonville State.
Yeah, it's a lot of running, and it's fast. It's a lot of running with the quarterback. Tyler Huff, his year with Jacksonville State with Rich Rod was like 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns on the ground. They'll pop big plays in the passing game, but it's a lot of running, a lot of quick up-tempo stuff. So, yeah, you want the quarterback, you want the running back. He's not afraid. He has, in some years in the past, done a committee, but when he has a guy that can carry the load, I mean, it's like 25 to 30 touches a game type stuff. So, yeah, it's definitely a gold mine. And it's truly, if we knew Hawkins was the guy right now, his ADP or whatever you want to call it, his ranking would probably go up 10 to 15 spots, 20 spots easily. And in full FBS type stuff, it's that much of a game-breaking offense.
Let's say we're in late July and we're in an underdog best ball draft, so Power 4 only. Where are you taking Cam Cook? And then where are you taking Michael Hawkins? Or let me say, where are you taking Cam Cook? And then where are you taking the starting quarterback for West Virginia?
I think I'm way more intrigued by Hawkins over Fox just because of the athleticism. Hawkins, I mean, this is a really good quarterback class. QB 15-ish for Hawkins, maybe something like that. Think like I would maybe around like the Kevin Jennings before Darian Mensah type, where it's like I'm shooting for the upside with a little bit of risk because, he technically hasn't really done anything in college. Cam Cook will be like a top 10 running back. It's a really good running back group. Last year, it felt like we were replacing a bunch of different guys, but I would be surprised if Cam Cook is not drafted within like the top
2 rounds, it sounds like.
Yeah, 10 or 12, 15 running backs. And it's a really good running back group where like, Isaac Brown right now is kind of like a second rounder type, and he's popped. So I think in this P4 draft I'm currently in, Cook went 111, so first round.
See, but I mean, I think the advantage you'll get it if you do them early, like we tend to do as soon as they drop them with underdog. We tend to do a bunch of them. Chris, I know you and Ethan, you guys have a whole show that you guys talk about this stuff on. I think you'll be able to get Michael Hawkins extremely cheap. Because I still don't think there was some people obviously who will be paying attention again, but he could be the guy. I'm trying to remember who the quarterback was a couple of years ago when they first dropped the underdog draft that people were grabbing.
John Mateer was the guy the first year.
Yeah, John Mateer, where you're grabbing him in like one of the last rounds and ended up being that. I think that could be Hawkins because again, we probably won't know by that point either if he will be for sure the starter. So some people won't go for him.
Yeah, Hawkins went 10th round in this draft, so he's definitely being slept on to an extent. There is a little bit of like, okay, well, Nate said it in our Slack, and I think Jared and I have talked about it a little bit. It's like once you get to a certain point with these quarterbacks, like why would you just take like Noah Fafita, who's going to get you 20 points a game, or like Rocco Becht and 18 points a game? Like shoot for like your quarterback for like in terms of ADP at least. Like give me a guy that has huge boom potential at quarterback, and Hawkins fits it. And his own ADP is only going to get higher the closer we get to the season, and it leans he's going to be the guy.
I feel like Kay is taking shots over here. Noah Fafita, Rocco Becht, some players.
I like them. They're relatively speaking. I don't like
before.
Fafita. Rocco Becht is fine because Rocco Becht has given me a little bit of rushing stuff in the past. I think he's a little bit better than Fafita. But
by a little bit of rushing, you mean he's getting these quarterbacks. He got a lot of quarterback sneaks last year.
Nothing worse. Every time I think about it, Miller Moss had 9 rushing touchdowns last year and negative 60 rushing yards. Jeez. Incredible stuff. That's everything. But hey, it works. It works.
Go Cards, don't hate. All right. We're talking about the running back position, so I'm going to another room that I'm paying attention to the running back for, and that's Illinois. I keep coming back to the well with Brett Bielema because I believe in Brett Bielema and what he's done over his career at the running back position. Now, a couple of years ago, the player that I was touting was Caden Fegan. Caden Fegan has since switched to tight end, and that probably makes sense. He was a quarterback athlete didn't play running back in high school and wasn't really physical to be 240 pounds, 250 pounds. He's probably 250 pounds. He wasn't that physical. There's Aiden Lafferty. I can know how to say his last name, the white running back in that backfield. How about that? But I tell you who I'm really impressed by that I think has a chance to be the primary ball carrier that Brett Bielema has wanted, and that is Khalil Valentine. I think that Khalil Valentine, who got, as the season went on, he didn't have a breakout game. He did have 95 yards against Purdue. I think he had 8 carries for 60 yards in the bowl game when all 3 of them shared the backfield. But if Caden Fegan is in the tight end room and Aiden Lafferty is basically still playing the secondary role, Khalil Valentine could be a very good player for Illinois if they get back to running the football the way Brett Bielema has wanted to historically, even though with Luke Altmaier there, they've been passing a little bit more than I'm familiar with Brett Bielema. But I think Khalil Valentine is going to be my potential. He had 600 yards rushing last year. I think he's going to be my potential breakout in 2026 if he is deployed as the primary back. And that's something that we should be able to tell to the extent Illinois has a spring game and we can see what the market share there is in the backfield. Kay, does that CFF take make sense with the pure CFF community? You're giving me some hesitation.
No, that gave me fits all season trying to figure out who's going to do what. With Fegan leaving the room, which is really nice, makes things a little bit easier to try to figure out. Valentine, I thought, was probably the most impressive of the bunch. Yet somehow he always, at least in the first half of the season, was like the third guy that got touches. So it was interesting to see him get that role towards the end. Bielema is not afraid to do it. He's not afraid to give significant touches. So this could be like a late round pick that helps. The cost is going to be extremely low. You're buying into a system that could really work out. So I don't mind it at all.
Well, you say cost. Any players that we talk about on this show, their ADP goes through, especially in C2C leagues. Their ADP is going to go through the roof.
Well, now that you're back, it didn't happen while we were here, but now that you're back.
Okay. Matthew, give us another one of your position battles.
Yeah, I'll stick into the wide receiver, the running back room that we've been talking about. Washington. I think Washington's running back room is going to be fairly intriguing. They bring in Jaden Lamar in the transfer portal. They have Jordan Washington, the sophomore there. And they bring in Brian Bronner Jr., who is a true freshman. I don't know how much longer Jed Fish is going to be at Washington, but when you go back through Jed Fish's history with offense, he's been very good to the running back position. Last year, they were top 10 in rush EPA per play at .272. Their RB1 scored 17 points. You have to go all the way back to 2017 with this time at UCLA for him not to have a running back score as either an RB1 or an RB2. I don't know, though, who it's going to be in this room because I don't know that I trust any of these guys to be the guy. And Jaden Lamar, Jordan Washington. I actually do think true freshman Brian Bonner Jr. has the chance to, just not this year. And then I'm also worried about, as I put in his freshman profile, will Jed Fish be gone by that point in time? But Brian Bonner can do it all. He's got the size. I just don't think that Jaden Lamar is anything special. Haven't seen enough, in my opinion, out of Jordan Washington to say if I think he can or can't lead this back field, but those are the three that I'll be watching here at Washington to see kind of who takes over.
This is one that I was looking at also. I considered putting it here, given that Adam Muhammad is in at Cal and Jonah Coleman is in the NFL draft. I didn't realize that they have a freshman there in Brian Bronner, and I just looked at his evaluation for 24/7. And Gabe Brooks is the one that evaluated him. He doesn't have a comp for him, but he does have him as a day 3 NFL draft pick. Sometimes they don't add a draft status to these prospects. So I think it's a good thing that he actually has a draft projection there. And just looking at his highlights here, he reminds me of last year's Jace Clarizio. Like, hey, this guy should get on the field given the fact that they don't have a lot of talent in this room. But that's what I see. So, all right. Do I have another one?
I can do one if you want to prime yours up. Yeah. I think there's two interesting ones. One is Degenerate. It's the Michigan tight end job. Not JJ Buchanan based because he's going to be playing a receiver, but not to disagree with your video. Like, there's a lot of potential and upside in that Buchanan pick. But I think also just straight legitimately the tight end for Michigan. Last year, Dallin Bentley, Hunter Andrews when he was healthy. They had a lot of success, and Utah has always had success with tight ends. Beck has had success with tight ends. So who's going to be the guy now that Beck and Whittingham, or is it Whittingham or Whittington? Whatever. Is that Whittingham at Michigan. So I'm interested to see, is it Hogan Hansen? Is it Zach Marshall? Do we hear anything? Because that's a super cheap option that could be extremely valuable in fantasy leagues.
And we should talk a little bit about Jason Beck's history with the tight end position. So Jason Beck comes from the Robert and I tree. Robert and I was responsible for Jelani Woods at Virginia. He was responsible for a couple of seasons for Rondé Gadsden at Syracuse. And then there was one season where Robert and I made the jump to NC State. And then Rondé Gadsden had nearly 1,000 yards with Jason Beck as the wide receiver position. By the way, while Justin Jolie playing in the same position probably had like 600 or 700 yards receiving for NC State. So like Jason Beck was with Robert and I for a long time before he went to Bronco Mendenhall at New Mexico and then eventually to Utah. So there's a strong correlation between Jason Beck and the tight end position. My hope, and see, this would be easy to answer, Chris, if Michigan had their roster up, but they don't have the roster up yet, their spring roster up yet. So we could just see if J.J. Buchanan was designated as a tight end or as
I believe he's going to be marked as a receiver. He was announced as a receiver, I think, when they announced the commitment. There's people, like if you ask Bainbridge, you ask some of these other guys, it's almost like and I get it. They're like, I'm not really even going to have the conversation of if like Buchanan is a tight end because he's going to be listed as a receiver. But it would be fun. And Jason Beck, man, the background on Jason Beck, like for him as like a quarterback guy too, is absurd. Taysom Hill, Bryce Perkins, Dampier. It's absurd the amount of value and production he's created out of quarterbacks as well.
Well, the question is going to be I mean, we can just take this topic to Bryce Underwood. Is he going to be a willing rusher? Because he's had some willing rushers in Bryce Perkins, in Devin Dampier. Who was the other guy at
Garrett
Brennan
Schrader?
Brennan Armstrong at
Brennan
Virginia.
Armstrong, even better, yeah.
Yeah, he had a 4,000 yard season passing. I don't think Bryce Underwood is going to have a 4,000 yard season passing. But to your point, Jason Beck has kind of done it with through the years and with multiple guys getting kind of elite fantasy production from them.
The big thing is he's never done it with like a real, actual good quarterback. He's always done it with the wrecking ball, super willing to run it, like Kyle Wood's great quarterbacks. He's never done it with a guy that's a potential first-round quarterback in the NFL. So that's what makes it really intriguing, is how much is Underwood going to be in on it? Like, how much is it needed? Because of, like, Underwood could be a great prototypical passer, run a little bit. Like, there's a lot of debate there, but I think the CFF guys are very high on Underwood because of the Beck stuff.
Gotcha. All right. I've got one more. I mean, I could do this all day, but I've got one more that I thought was important. Now, let me I don't want to bury the lead here. The answer is going to be that there's nobody here that I think I'm particularly interested in, but I took it as a personal failure last year not to have highlighted two players, Fernando Mendoza and Danny Scudero. Danny Scudero, I feel like if I had just watched some Sacramento State film, I'm like, oh yeah, that he's a dude. We should at least have them rostered. And I know that there was the conversation in CFF Twitter that I heard last year. Was it going to be Danny Scudero? Was it going to be Miles Coleman? But I felt like I didn't look under that rock to see who was there, especially after Nick Nash just had the season that he had the season prior. It should have been a position that we were looking at. Same offensive coordinator there for San Jose State, Craig Stutzman. And I cannot say his last name, but the coach there, the head coach, Chris, do you know how to say his name? Let's see. Hold on.
Look at it, the wrong guy. Yeah, I do not know. I'm not the guy to take shots at.
There's a reason why I'm saying
names.
This, man.
The head coach where?
Well, the point is that that's the coach who was at Navy when
it's
Ken, and I can't say the last name.
The longtime Navy coach. Yep. Yeah.
He was at Navy when Connor Stallions learned how to be a spy. Basically, Coach Ken told him to go figure this out. And when Connor Stallions first started doing what he was doing at Michigan at Navy under Coach Ken, who's now the head coach at San Jose State. So anyway, I was looking to see, is there a Danny Scudero, is there a Nick Nash on this team? They're losing their second, third, fourth, fifth, and fifth leading receivers, in addition to Danny Scudero, who transferred to Colorado. So Danny Scudero transfers to Colorado. Kyrie Scholes went to Utah. Leland Smith went to UCLA. Matthew Coleman went to Sac State. And I got to believe Tuli Tagovailoa Amosa is related to the Tua Tagovailoas. He had 10 or 9 receptions last year as a true freshman, but even with the cupboard bare, he switched to safety. So of the 5 leading receivers for San Jose State last year, the only one who the returning guy is the 5 reception, 43 yards, Cooper Hotch. Cooper Hotch, who seems like a outside guy, not like a slot guy or inside guy. They bring in 4 transfers. Matthew, listen to this, Matthew. I want you to do the math for me here.
Okay.
They bring in 4 transfers, 4 guys. They have 26 catches among them. One of them has 24. That means 2 of these guys don't have a catch in their careers in college football. Those guys are Jerry McClure, 1 catch for 8 yards. He spent 2024 and 2025 with San Diego State, 2023 with UCLA. He has one catch for 8 yards. If there's somebody competing with Cooper Hotch to lead the team in receiving, it would be Jordan Anderson. Sacramento State was in that go-go offense last year with Brennan Marion, 24 catches, 361 yards, lined up inside, outside. I don't see anything special about him. Anthony Ivy from Penn State, who spent 2022 through 2024 at Penn State. He has 1 catch for 15 yards in his 3-year career. And then Dominique McKenzie, who was at BYU last year, did not record a reception. So that's what San Jose State is dealing with, which leads me to believe these guys are going to run the ball this year. They're going to run the ball. These dudes are going to run the ball. There's a transfer. Speaking of West Virginia, there's a 6'2", 225-pound transfer from West Virginia. And I think he's going to share the rock with I'm getting the names here. I think he's going to share the rock with, so it's Tyler Jacklich and Jabari Bates. I think that those are the running backs. Jabari Bates is 5'7", 180 or something like that. And Tyler Jacklich, big white dude, 6'2", 220. More, it might be bigger than that. And so I think it's going to be a thunder and lightning thing. I don't think that we see the elite passing production that we've seen out of previous seasons from San Jose State.
It does make it an interesting situation when, kind of like Washington, right? Like there's all these guys are out. We know that almost always there's production here. So who's the guy? But there's like no one to choose from. Like what was Washington thinking with this being their group? Or what was San Jose State thinking? A little bit different as a G5. That's not a big G5. Like how could they think that this was a great idea to go into knowing what they do? Why would they go into the season with this group? Maybe you're right. Maybe they zig, maybe they zig a little bit here this year and go back to it the next year. But yeah, we will be debating it because of the production the last couple of years for sure.
Matt, do you have any more? That was my last one.
Yeah, I've got 2 more. One, the Tennessee quarterback job. I know Austin and Colin like to make the joke on Campus Life that a trained monkey could run this offense. But again, I think having a good quarterback in this offense matters, especially with the Heupel offense, specifically for the wide receivers. I don't know if there's a wide receiver we necessarily really want right now on Tennessee, but if they can hit, we've got George McIntyre, who was there last year versus, what was his nickname? Isn't it Ryan Martin Luther King Staub? Isn't that what what's his name called him? Why am I forgetting? Coach Prime, because Ryan Staub said I had a dream about being the starter or whatever at Colorado. He called him like Ryan Martin Luther King Staub or something like that. Who transferred in after his stint to Colorado. And then they have true freshman Brandon Faison, who's highly rated by the services. We were a little bit lower on him. Again, I mean, they passed the ball over 50% early neutral situations, 1.53 pass explosiveness. Heupel throughout almost his entire career is at a 50% success rate passing the ball. So, I mean, I think the quarterback here matters, especially with whoever you want at the wide receiver position. So that's a position battle I'm watching. But the main one, going back to the running back, it's a Notre Dame running back. Jeremiah Love gone. Golly, who left with them? I'm forgetting.
Jadarian Price.
Jadarian Price also gone. They're into the NFL. We haven't seen much of Aeneas Williams, who's back this year, probably going to be the starter. They have Keidron Young there, and they bring in 2 really good freshmen in Javane Osborne and Jonas Walton. We've seen just throughout Mike Denbrock's career as an offensive coordinator, going all the way back to his time at Cincinnati.
Mike Denbrock,
I love Mike
is your
Denbrock,
boy.
man. Yeah. He just does great things. He does great things. He turned CJ Carr into, I can't wait. Behind the scenes look here. I tried to get us to do flag plants today just because for Felix's first show back, I want to talk about how damn good I've been for the past 2 years with my flag plants. Because CJ Carr was one of them last year. Dude, absolutely, well, I shouldn't say absolutely killed it, but he was a lot better than what his ADP was. And he was my pick last year because of Mike Denbrock. But again, he does the same thing for running backs last year. Some of this is definitely because just of how good Jeremiah Love was. With their RB1 last year was scoring 26 points. But if you go back through Mike Denbrock's career, they're in the high or low 20s, high teens, which again is an RB1, RB2 for fantasy. I'll be very curious to see which one of these running backs starts to run away with this job because we haven't really seen him kind of split the backfield. They did a little bit last year, but I think that was more when Love started to get a little bit banged up. I just don't know who it's going to be, and I don't know that I trust Williams or Young. I think both the freshmen are better. I just don't think that either one of them will be the starter in Osborne or Walton, but I think moving forward, those two could be a really dynamic duo, almost the way that Jeremiah Love and Price were this year. So I'm excited to see specifically in the future what this looks like. But this year, I still think you want the Notre Dame running back on your roster.
Yeah, and we can cover the freshmen when we do our deep dive into the freshman class. We got time. Go get the Campus2Canton freshman guide, and then you'll be ready for that conversation. For anybody who hasn't, been around, who's tuning in for us just recently, and you're not familiar with, my role on this show, Matthew, I forgot that I did this. I went back into the archives and I pulled up some of my best takes over the last 5 years.
Uh-huh.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is how about in descending order? Number 6, I took Devin Brown over Quinn Ewers in the 2022 freshman drafts. That's right. Number 5, I said that former Nevada QB Carson Strong could be the number 1 overall pick. That was a good one. Number 4, I said Mayan Williams was better than Travion Henderson. That was a good one. Number 3, I had the shamed gambling quarterback Hunter Deckers was in my top 10. That's right. Number 2, this is a good one. Speaking of top 10 wide receivers, in the 2020 class, I had former Colorado State wide receiver Warren Jackson in the top 10. Warren Jackson, who was like 6'6", 220, but they had you remember it was Jalen Wright? There was a Wright.
Dante Wright. The slot wide receivers.
Dante Wright and Warren Jackson. That was quite the duo. And do you know what the number 1 is? Do you know what the number 1 take I've had in the last 5 years is?
I think so.
I just looked, and this is incredible.
I remember this moment because I just looked at it too. This was one of the very few times. Go ahead. Go. Sorry.
I comped former Wisconsin and Florida quarterback Graham Mertz to Peyton Manning. What were you going to say?
I just remember that was the first time I've ever seen Austin just truly upset. Austin was just like, what? That was one of the few times you really got Austin to actually engage in a debate was when you said that.
And never again. Anything else, gentlemen?
That's a great way to end it. That's incredible. That's good stuff.
All right. I'll be around next week. Apologies to Curve Street. We ran out of time. We'll get them rescheduled soon. For Chris K and Matt Bruening, I'm Felix Sharp. Good night, people, and good luck.